Hey everyone, I hope you're taking it easy and your day has been great thus far. For this video we'll be going through a unboxing and review of the Core Class Studio Series Ratchet, and this particular version of Ratchet is from the original Transformers the movie back from 1986. Yes. So I've just recently picked up the Core Class Ratchet, so I thought try and do myself another Core Class video, even though I've got plenty of every other scale to go through. So this was just mainly a decision on, I don't mind Ratchet. The core classes have been pretty good, so this is just ducking into the core classes out of the Studio Series line to see how they fare. So here we have the front of the box for Ratchet. You can see Ratchet through the see-through box window in his robot mode, and it looks like he will have some type of background as well, although given that I can see where some of those plastic tires are coming through, it may be a somewhat perforated background. Foreshadowing not intended. So front of the box, we also have that nice shot of Ratchet up there, dual wielding two hand weapons. Side of the box, just another shot of Ratchet, and the other side, just a bit of a close-up on his head and the core class. And then on the top we just have Transformers the movie as a logo. In terms of the back of the box, so 15 steps to convert Ratchet from his robot mode into his alt mode. And in terms of what is included, so we'll have the figure of Ratchet, two accessories, one for each hand, and instructions. So pretty much your stock standard inclusions. So that was a look of the packaging for Ratchet. I guess at this point in time it's pretty much a case of open up the box and pull everything out for a better look. And with everything out of the box, so as we expect, there is one figure of Ratchet looking pretty good, and I kid you not, I did go straight for the knees, and the knees feel quite solid. So I don't know if it's because Ratchet has solid knees, because the Studio Series has solid knees, or if I've just been really unlucky with my core classes in the Legacy line. Two hand weapons, which we will look at in a little bit. His manual, which is pretty much a given, and he does get a bit of a background, not the exact same style as what we see in the deluxes and above, but yes, it's not just a plain gradient color background. It actually is a background. It's a very noticeable, recognizable background. It's the front of the Autobot shuttle. So yes, one of the most brutal, yeah, it was definitely a bit of a brutal scene, especially back in the day. So yes, perforations, once again, pun not intended. It's surprisingly not too bad. Like, there's definitely a lot of holes where the tires have gone through, but it's not too bad. Plus, if you were to have Ratchet in front, once again, he doesn't actually look that bad or out of place with it, and if you're not trying to look for the holes in the background, it's not so bad. So if you were to keep this, it probably would be good for some photography sessions. So that is Ratchet in front of the Autobot shuttle background. So I'll put that away for the time being. Weapons over here. Ratchet will come back to you. Manual. Standard manual, nothing overly exciting. You have one of those usual pieces of paper about all sorts of bits and bobs. So in terms of equipping Ratchet with his blasters, now the little inner tab, they actually have it facing inward. I for one would like to have them facing outward, but I guess that just comes down to personal, not personal critique, personal preference. Starting the build steps for Ratchets, so that's the first 6 steps, basically just around his torso and his arms. And then the back of the manual go through the rest of the actual build. So it's a good amount of steps in here. I mean, for 15 steps as a core class, it's actually not too bad, given some of the other core classes from Legacy have still remained in a single-digit number of instructions, so quite cool. Final look of Ratchet in his alt mode, and his guns will be attachable as well. Why they are attachable, still beyond me, but it is what it is. So we did have a quick look at some of these guns before. Now I am going to use my personal preference, and I'm going to have the tab bit on the outside. So that is Ratchet with his 2 accessories in place. Not too bad. I mean, now that I've actually seen Ratchet holding them, I guess you could have these little tabby bits facing into the body as opposed to away from the body. It actually doesn't look that bad. I was expecting them to have a good amount of pointing out, but no, they don't actually. So that is that. Obviously those pointy bits are used for attaching those into his ultimate. That's Ratchet if he was equipped with one. So that was a quick look of Ratchet holding his accessories. In terms of Ratchet himself, so what do we have here? So that's the front, the side, the back, the other side, from the bottom, from the top. So Ratchet does look quite cool, and he does have the Autobot insignia on both his shoulders. So that is very, very cool. That's a quick look at Ratchet. In terms of his articulation, what can we expect? So his head will do a full 360. Why it should do a 360 is anyone's guess. As for his arms, so he will have a full 360 based on a ball joint of the arm going into his main torso. Obviously is repeatable on both arms. He does have a joint inside as well, so he will have some full 360 degree motion there as well. It is a little tight, which is fine, and now that we've gone through his instruction manual, I believe some of that 360ness is also part of his transformation. So he's got a good degree of motion up there. He does have a elbow bend, which does do a comfortable 90 degrees. His arm can go all the way out. So yes, that's not too bad. So he will have some level of articulation there. The hand is fixed, so don't expect to be twisting any of the guns to the side. and obviously that'll be repeatable on both arms. So that's his head and arms done. He does have a little bit of a swivel in his main torso. You could probably have a bit more if you actually just peg, well not peg, but lift up his top of his alt mode up a bit, so he can actually do a full 360 on his waist. Although I suspect the idea is that he only makes general left to right. In terms of his legs, he can indeed do the full splits. So yes, you can do a full 360 at the hip joint. Given what I've just done, I wouldn't necessarily say you should, because it's not necessarily required, but it is good to know that the movement is there. But do be careful when you're doing it. You are likely to unintentionally pull the leg off from the socket. Obviously the socket does allow a good amount of motion, so to the front. I've probably unintentionally loosened this now. To the back, not quite all the way back because of bits connecting into each other. We saw the side already, which is pretty cool. That does remind me, in terms of back kibble, very minimal. It's nice and streamlined and clean on Ratchet's back. In terms of the knee, well, probably 45 degrees I would say. It's not the best knee joint, but there is a bit of a knee joint there. Now that can do a nice 360 as well. There's a lot of ball socket joints in these kits, which is good. So yep, you can get some of that movement there. But yes, it's not going to be a full 90-degree knee, unfortunately. Ratchet has no actual articulated feet to speak of. So that was a look at the robot mode for Ratchet. So we've got a good idea of what type of articulation he is capable of. His arms have probably done quite well. His head is pretty good as well. His legs aren't terrible. But if you enjoy having a solid knee bend, Ratchet will probably fall a few points behind in that department. So now that we've had a look at his robot mode, I will now make the attempt to transform him. So we can have a look at his alt mode, and then I will close off with some final thoughts. And with Ratchet now in his alt mode, actually wasn't too bad a transformation. It was quite intuitive. There's a little bit of folding and swiveling and things like that. Obviously do not just do what I just do and accidentally apply too much pressure to the point where you start to untransform him. It's a bit awkward, but at the same time, I guess, learning point. Don't put too much pressure on here. You may actually pop out some of these parts, which are from his legs. They do come together, and they do have little tabs to connect into, but as I've demonstrated, with enough force and at the right angle, you will dislodge them. So in terms of his alt mode, so shot from the front, shot from one of the sides, his right side, from the rear, left side, top of the alt mode, underbelly. Very clean underbelly. I'll give them mad props for that. The wheels do generally work, which is good. So that's actually not too bad. Now, other than the wheels, there isn't too much more to be done in his alt mode. I will, however, for sake of discussion, add on his guns. It's a bit weird seeing an ambulance with two weapons on them, but there you go. So that will be what Ratchet looks like if his two hand weapons were attached to his ambulance chassis. Surprisingly, it doesn't look too bad, but I don't know. I still stand by it doesn't look all too practical. Now, be warned, you do need a little bit of force to take some of these off. So just keep that in mind. A little bit of force, not too much. And if you can get it at the right spot, you can probably just get enough little momentum going to get them out of that particular tab. So that is Ratchet's vehicle mode, as well as the vehicle mode with the handguns attached. In terms of my thoughts, so if we just use the front of the cover, from a robot mode perspective, I think they've actually done Ratchet quite well. Solid articulation in the arms. The legs aren't too bad. It's got enough to do some posing with him. But it will be interesting that, unlike the legacy ones, he only has that 45-degree knee bend. So it'll be interesting to see if that does anything in terms of preventing him from achieving certain poses, or it's going to be a very moot point. Color apps and general look in his robot mode are pretty much on point, and yeah, I'm quite happy. It's definitely going to be one of those, it's hard to decide if I keep him in his alt mode or keep him in his robot mode. Leaning towards robot mode at this point in time, so that's really cool. Can't really fault much with his robot mode, other than it would be nice to have a little bit more articulation within the knees, but based on how they transform from his alt mode, I guess that can't necessarily be helped without re-engineering some of those legs. So robot mode, quite good. As for his vehicle mode, I would say the transformation to this mode was quite good and intuitive. Bearing in mind that is my thoughts on the first attempt to transform him. Opinion may change once I've transformed him 2, 3, half a dozen odd times as I get used to things. In terms of the actual look of the vehicle mode, I think they've gotten Ratchet's alt mode quite well captured. Could it use a few more paint apps? Yeah, it's a core class. What can one expect, really? A few more paint apps would be really, really cool. But overall, he does actually look really solid in his alt mode. And I'll say it now, would not be surprised if we get a Studio Series core of Ironhide, given that it's basically a retool and you just need to take off this light bar from his alt mode and his head crest in his robot mode. The lack of any underkibble is pretty cool as well. Everything does fold up quite nicely in the sense that transforming it's really good. In terms of the actual look, it's, and once again, general disclaimer, first transformation, some things don't tab fully neatly, so you do get, at least for my one, it could be different for others, you do get some of this parting of the legs and the torso part within the transformation, so you do get some of these little noticeable undesirable gaps on account of the transformation. But other than that, very solid ambulance mode. I do quite like. So it should definitely be fun to transform him back for the images. So yes, I would definitely say between robot mode and alt mode, I'm quite happy with what they've done for Ratchet. And with the few limitations that he has, they're definitely not of significant consequence to completely ignore picking up Ratchet. So yes, I would say if you by chance see a Ratchet on the shelf and you're either a Ratchet fan of the Autobots, fan of everything from the original Transformers movie, general collector, etc., this particular core class of Ratchet, I would say, is definitely a solid pickup. The weapons included are pretty cool, and the fact that they give you 2 is really cool, and the pseudo backdrop is a nice little novelty to have, even though it is used for other purposes. With the unboxing and review done, that pretty much is where things are at for Ratchet. I will have some shorts and various picture sets of Ratchet in the upcoming week. In fact, by the time this video is published, there will be a corresponding short of Ratchet, no doubt, as well. So definitely keep an eye on that if you just want some quick 60-second types of views on Ratchet and less commentary, which always goes a long way. Haven't decided who the next Transformers unboxing will be. It could be another core class because I did pick up Wheelie at the same time. It could end up being a deluxe class. I do have a few deluxes from obviously Velocitron, Kingdom, Studio Series, etc. So I have mentioned in previous videos, there's no shortage of Transformers content. It's just a shortage of time putting it all together. But yes, I'll try and stick to at least one Transformers video a week. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review of Core Class Ratchet. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account, link below. Stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in a future video. See ya.